Imagine being locked inside a small elevator with your biggest crush. Meanwhile, the AC stops working and it gets so hot that you both take off your shirts. Sounds like a dream. Well, this actually happened to me, and here's how. I was in school when my enemy Alexa made fun of me. She said, "I'm going on a date this weekend, and you? Netflix and chill with your dad?" Oh, stop it, Alexa. If I wanted a boyfriend, I could get one easily. Ha! Not in your wildest dreams. Guys just don't think that you are attractive. I wanted to prove her wrong, so I secretly went to my teacher and said, "Mr. Flanders, I know this sounds weird, but I really want to work with Jordan. Can you team us up on the next project?" That's cute, and sure, I'll let you two write an essay together. It was awesome. Jordan and I met up in the library for our team project. Maybe I wasn't the prettiest girl, but I had a secret weapon, because I was absolutely shameless. I said, "So, do you have a crush on any girl in our class?" "Oh, I don't have time for dating. I only focus on school and my soccer career." "Wow, I heard you almost made the national team. Have you ever had any groupies?" "Well, girls often come into the locker room looking to have some fun, but I think it's super annoying." That's when I undid the top button of my blouse and asked, "Have you ever dated a brunette?" You mean like yourself? Yes, and now tell me, do you find me attractive? Oh, stop, and let's go back to work. Oh my god, I needed a better plan to seduce him. So I lured him into my dad's mansion. There, we had a small elevator, and I had instructed my brother to switch off the circuit breaker in the middle of the ride. Whoa, the elevator stopped. Yeah, it happens all the time. We just have to wait until my dad comes home and rescues us. It was so tight, Jordan's body was almost pressed up against mine. And with the AC off, it got really hot and muggy in there. So I said, "If you want to take off your shirt, please go ahead." "Well, actually I'm fine." "Well then, I'll go first." I peeled down to my bra and said, "It's just like a bikini. And by the way, do you think I'm attractive?" "Oh, you sure look good." I really thought he liked me, so I went ahead and kissed him. We kept going for 20 minutes, but right when I took his shirt off, I heard my dad scream, "Hey, what are you doing with my daughter?" Snap! I was in big trouble. My dad still thought I was an innocent little girl. He didn't know the real me and said, "How dare you touch my daughter?" "Dad, we both like each other, and I'm 16, old enough to date boys and have some fun." My dad grounded me for weeks, but I didn't care. The following day, I visited Jordan after his soccer practice in the boys' locker room, and I got plenty of attention. "Jordan, a girl is here for you, and she seems naughty." "Oh, hey, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to invite you to my house. I have a special surprise for you." I took him to my room and peeled down to this cute cat outfit. Meow. We kissed for a minute, then Jordan got nervous and went to the bathroom. He didn't come back for 20 minutes, so I went searching and found him talking to my brother about soccer. "Sister, what the hell are you wearing? It's disgusting!" I finally gave up on seducing Jordan and went to sleep. But at night I had to go to the bathroom, and that's when I heard noises from my brother's room. I opened the door and oh my god, they were kissing! I took a photo and said, "Wow, Dad's not gonna like this." "Oh, you witch! Please don't tell him!" "Witch? You are my brother and just stole my boyfriend, you jerk!" I knew Dad wouldn't be happy to find out his son was into boys. So I did what any good sister would do and blackmailed him. "From now on, you are my servant, or otherwise I show Dad the photo. And you, Jordan, I'll let you spend 2 hours a day with my brother as long as I get the rest of the time." They both agreed. It was kinda weird sharing a boyfriend with my brother. One time we watched a movie together with Jordan sitting between us. I would kiss him for a few minutes, and then my brother would kiss him for a few minutes. But then he lost it and screamed, "Sister, I hate sharing my boyfriend with you, you freaking perv." "How dare you even speak to me, you worthless servant? Now make me a salami sandwich." My brother did whatever I ordered him to do. Sometimes I even used him as an ottoman. Meanwhile at school, I showed Jordan off to all my classmates, especially Alexa, because her boyfriend had just dumped her. I said, "Who's the loser now, Alexa? I bet your ex-boyfriend was sick of your cellulite." Yes, I saw it in PE class, and it's disgusting. But I was drunk on power and took it too far. I told my brother, "From now on, you will flush my toilet for me." "No way I'm gonna do that. You're disgusting." "Okay, then give me the laptop you got for Christmas." Screw you. Go ahead and out me to Dad. I don't care anymore. At least it will end this nightmare. I fulfilled his wish and told Dad everything. He turned to Jordan and said, "So first you kiss my daughter, and then my son?" "I'm sorry, sir, but I never wanted to kiss your daughter. She's an evil monster and forced herself on me. Your son is the one I really love." "Well, it is what it is. Sounds like my daughter will be the one making all the grandchildren in this family." "Wait, what?"
I was bullied by superheroes. Surprise? In my world, superheroes aren't worshipped because everyone has a special power. Everyone except me. One day,
Have you ever felt so lonely that you wanted to give up on life? I hope not. But you can probably imagine how I felt as a kid being raised by my uncle who acted like I didn't exist. It all started when my parents decided to leave the country. They wanted to start a new life, but unfortunately, I wasn't part of their plan. They decided I should live with my uncle, but when they brought me to his home, he didn't want me. My parents and he started screaming at each other, and in the end, my dad had to give him a bunch of money in exchange for letting me live with him. Back then, I was only 8 years old, and I haven't seen my parents ever since. All I know is that their flight was going somewhere to Europe. You can probably imagine that my parents had never loved me very much. But they were still hundreds of times better than my uncle. He was a cold and emotionless man. He barely even acknowledged my existence. The only time he talked to me was when he gave me orders like to clean the bathroom or wash his clothes. I was so desperate for love or some kind of connection that my stuffed animal Theo became my best friend. I talked to him for hours because I had no one else who loved or cared about me. My uncle also never signed me up for school, so I ended up spending a whole year not leaving my uncle's apartment and only eating the rest of his meals. At one point, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed someone to talk to and walked outside. I was only 9 and hadn't felt the sunlight on my skin in more than 12 months. I felt overwhelmed and scared by all the noises and sounds. At one point, a policeman approached me and asked if I needed help. I responded, "I'm okay," but he didn't believe me. Probably because I hadn't washed my hair or clothes in weeks. I must have looked like I'd been homeless for years. He asked me where my parents were, and that's when things got really messy. The authorities found out I was living with my uncle and that he hadn't taken appropriate care of me. That's why the policeman that had found me brought me into an orphanage. Before he left, he promised me that soon someone would come and adopt me, and then I would have real parents who would love and take care of me. But I waited for 2 months and no one came to adopt me. Meanwhile, the other kids inside the orphanage called me the dirty or the weird girl. So again, I ended up feeling lonely, spending most of my time with my teddy bear, Theo. But then, after 3 months, the same policeman that had saved me from my uncle's home came back into the orphanage to look for me. He wanted to know if I had found a new family, and he wasn't alone. He had brought his wife with him. It felt so good to see him again, even though I was too shy to talk to him, but I could feel that he cared about me. When he said, "My wife and I have thought about this for a long time, and we wanted to ask you if you would like to become our daughter and be a part of our family," I wanted to scream, "Yes, yes!" But after years of neglect, I was too shy and couldn't bring out a word. In the end, he told me to think about it, and that he would come back the next week to ask me again. But while he and his wife were on their way out, I quickly drew a painting and ran after them. When I had stopped them, I showed them my drawing. It was me holding both their hands, and I had written Mom and Dad over them. It was the only way I could express myself. I still remember how they both took me into their arms. It felt so warm and so good to be touched by another human being. It felt like years of pain were being healed inside my body. Afterward, my new parents went back into the orphanage to sign the papers to adopt me, and by the next day, I was living with them in their home. They didn't have a bed for me, so I had to sleep right between them. But of course I didn't mind, because for the first time I could remember I didn't feel lonely or abandoned. My adoptive parents give me endless amounts of love, and there's nothing more important for a kid than to be loved. I just wanted to say thank you to my dad and my mom. You have literally saved me, and therefore you will always be my heroes. Thank you so much.
I was in high school when Mrs. Sundell became our new history teacher. There were rumors that she'd been kicked out of her old school for rupturing the eardrum of one of her students. Apparently, that student was deaf, and she blew an air horn right next into his ear to prove that it wouldn't affect him. But of course, it did affect him. His eardrum ruptured, and he had to be taken to the hospital because blood started running out of his ear. So everyone knew Mrs. Sundell was a bit crazy. And one time, while talking about the Holocaust, she suddenly burst into tears. I wondered if it was because she was Jewish and had lost part of her family to the Nazis. But then she explained that her husband had dumped her the day before for a younger woman. To be frank, I thought it was tasteless of her to tell us students about her private life while discussing an event as tragic as the Holocaust. But I knew she had mental issues. So the next day after class, when all other students had left the classroom, I gave her flowers and said, "I'm sorry you were going through a divorce, Mrs. Sundell, but I believe in you." Now, let me preface that I was 18 years old at the time, and nothing that happens in this story is illegal. Of course, Mrs. Sundell was an attractive woman, but I never planned on becoming her lover. "Oh, thank you for the flowers. You are such a gentleman." "No problem, and enjoy your weekend." Wait, I hope you don't mind me asking, but are you free this Saturday?" Free for what?" "Oh, I'm gonna cook some pasta, and I haven't been on a first date in years." "So why don't you come over?" Of course, I accepted the offer. Mrs. Sundell was gorgeous after all, but in hindsight, I realized that Mrs. Sundell was also mentally unstable, and that maybe I was taking advantage of her recent breakup. I mean, the first time I visited her home, she immediately introduced me to her 8-year-old daughter and said, "Hey, look who your mom is dating now. He's one of my students and super cute. Much cuter than your useless dad." Mrs. Sundell's daughter looked disturbed. She was extremely underweight, had dark circles under her eyes, and avoided eye contact. Meanwhile, Mrs. Sundell pulled me on the couch and started making out with me. It felt super awkward because her daughter sat less than a meter away from us, but she knew what to do and left the room so we could be alone. Then, at dinner, Mrs. Sundell told me about her husband. "He is crazy! One time my phone battery died and he couldn't reach me for 3 hours. So he called the police and told them I was missing. Also, he's been stalking me ever since we broke up." "Stalking you?" "Yeah, he always parks somewhere near
Welcome to the Waverhood. With Wavebear, finding your style is fun.
Again, when the music stops, grab any chair. Doesn't matter if it's your